Just as the class is in session, a paper ball smacks right on the MC's head. The boy glances back to see the troublemakers acting like they know nothing. As soon as he faces forward again, they start hurling even more paper balls at him. He begs them to stop, but one of the bullies steps up and punches him. The bully sneered that he was pathetic and then kicked him right in the face. As soon as the teacher walked in, the bully let the boy rest for a moment, but that quiet time didn't last long. Someone pinned a note to his back that laughed at him for not having a mom. The teacher just turns a blind eye to everything. Daeon, the main character, sees that the grown-ups won't help, leaving him totally on his own. As class finally comes to an end, Dajuan stands at home, gazing at his own reflection in the mirror. At that very second, he made a choice to stop taking the hits and start fighting back like a white Mike Tyson. Dajuan spent every day building strength with push-ups and runs, studying self-defense books, and watching fights on TV to learn how to throw hands. A week later, he had gained weight and seemed like a different person. Before he couldn't do a single push-up, but now he does one-arm push-ups while reading. It looks like he pushed something straight into his arm. When he walked back into school, everyone was left speechless. No one knew him anymore because he had changed so much. Inside the convenience store, Daejeon had transformed himself into someone completely new. Now he's rocking a pair of glasses and a fake beard that's just barely any fuzz. In a dark alley, the boss of the bully gang is messing with a kid. As he meets up with his girlfriend and heads to the store where Daejeon is working, a bully asks for 2 beers. Daejeon suspects they're students and asks to see their IDs. The bowl-cut kid gets so mad he slams the cash down and snatches the drinks. The MC asks him to put it away. The guy from the Fantastic Four gets so angry he grabs the main character by the collar and asks if he wants to get beaten up. The shopkeeper keeps a close eye on the whole store, just like a security camera does. The bully pulls Daejeon outside and asks if he wants to pay up now or wait until later. Daejeon, brimming with confidence, taunted, "I'd like to see you try," while the square-faced man raised his hand ready to strike. A second later, Daejeon stood unharmed while the bully lay on the floor with a puffy face. He glances up at the MC, stands up, and yells at his girlfriend to get help. The bully tries to scare him, but Daejeon grabs him by the shoulder and squeezes his collarbone until he finally admits his true age. As soon as he admits he's 17, the MC warns him to never show his face at the store again. Suddenly, the bully's group arrives. The infamous BI warns him that he must send his boss away if he wants to keep living. The whale tried to crush Daejeon with his hand, but got such a hard slap that it was the first time in history a whale took flight. The other bullies get mad and try their luck as well. But in the end, everyone meets the same fate. He placed them down one by one, tapping each one with his fist to say goodnight. The leader, refusing to stay down after all those hits, snatches up a bottle and charges forward for one last desperate try. Daejeon slammed his fist right into the leader's gut, knocking him out for good. Peering across the chaos, just a single man remains standing. He is so scared he's begging for forgiveness for everyone else. Now the MC has finally turned the tables and is no longer the bully's target. He's the one who turns the bullies into the ones getting picked on. Before he walked out, he warned them he'd never want to see them at the store again. The sun was nearly done with its job. Daejeon remembered how the bullies made him skip class. At the building's entrance, a woman stopped him to chat for a moment and handed him a card from the Golden Dragon Education Foundation. The woman tells the story of their mission: to find a tough hero who can beat up the bullies and finally stop the fights. So she needs his fighting skills to shut down every conflict. She hopes to stop the fighting by starting more of it. That makes perfect sense, and now everything fits together like a puzzle. Wanting to get stronger, he says yes, and later at his new school, Daejeon is thrilled to be back in the classroom. As the new student walked down the school hallway, everyone stopped to stare and cheer. Meanwhile, a student was dragged around like a horse all the way to Hojang to chat about the fresh transfer. On the first day of class, MC meets the big guy Minsu, pulls a prank, walks right up to him and bonks him on the head, leaving the new kid totally stunned. The bully orders Minso to fetch his bread, but the boy insists he can only do it during break. Another bully just laughed at the whole mess. The big guy taught the other kids how to close their eyes by giving them a quick punch. Hojang calls Minso an idiot for remembering the strict rules about keeping the secret project safe and avoiding violence, while the narrator can't just stand there watching the big guy beat everyone up anymore. Daejeon stood up and demanded the money be handed over immediately. The bully stood frozen, confused as another guy showed off his strength right before him. Just as the scuffed-up guy grabs the MC's hair, Daejeon strikes his ribs with a punch and immediately follows up by hitting him right in the face. He had tossed all the rules right out the window. He did exactly what his heart wanted in that moment. Everyone stood frozen in disbelief as the new kid took down the school bully. The other bully lunges to strike back, But the MC slips out of every punch and lands a hard hit right in the blonde kid's stomach. The kid couldn't even last 3 seconds before he started begging for mercy. An ugly guy with a bloody face and a chair charges at the MC, only to get punched so hard he won't be getting up again anytime soon. John says the class leader is weak, but the bully laughs and insists that's not the real leader. "Oh, I'm sorry, but it was Miho, the room's leader, who asked who you are and whether you're trying to take over." Then Dijon asks if he's the boss of the room while walking. The room's leader asks how the 2 bullies lost to just one guy, and the protagonist just stares back at him with a blank look. The room's leader questions why the MC is doing this on the first day, while the scared bullies wonder if he can win, and a girl in the group asks if everyone is okay. One student steps back to stay out of it, so the room's leader, clearly annoyed, says he won't fight right now, which makes the protagonist suspicious as he notices the leader spreading his legs and pointing them right at him. With his shoulders primed for action, the leader locks eyes with the protagonist. He pretends to be sneaky and ready to strike whenever he can, but while the bully thinks the new guy is tough, he knows for sure that the newcomer will never beat the room leader Miho. Then he asks one of the students for a handful of popcorn. The student can't help but wonder why he picked him. Feeling annoyed, the bully asks if he's finally gone crazy. Then the bully turned around and strutted away, grinning as he said, "There will be meat for lunch." The room's leader suddenly sees that the bully's fear has finally vanished. Ho Jang stays calm while the leader introduces himself as Miho and asks the protagonist to say their name. Dijon just speaks his name, but Miho instantly shoots forward, pretending to brush against the protagonist's face while secretly ready to kick him right in the crotch. He then realizes that striking right in the legs is a low blow that causes unbearable pain and leaves him with no excuse to make. Soon, no man should ever use this kind of blow again. Shivering with fear, Dijon studies the danger and places his hands right where he needs to strike. Seeing this, the leader shifts to a punch, claiming it's a bluff, and launches himself at the protagonist with such force that a solid hit lands on Dijon's face, leaving him excitedly marked. The bullies laugh and gloat, convinced the new guy has no chance of winning. Dijon guessed the leader was lying, so he kicked his shin hard right when the leader struck back. The leader didn't see the kick coming and stumbled back. Afterward, the protagonist yanks the leader by his jacket and slams him hard against the wall. Then the leader sits down to hear the protagonist's lesson. Never threaten others like that again. Laughing, the room's leader jumps up and says that if he's the one swinging, he has no problem with it. One of the bullies, shocked, calls Miho rude, but Ho Jang quickly warns him that doing this 3 times will mean getting kicked out of kickboxing. With his fists tight, the leader declares that he will now use kickboxing for real and that this time it will be serious. Dijon calmly tells him to stay away from that place. Miho watches closely as he reaches out to grab something. Suddenly, he hurls a chair right at the protagonist. Dijon ducks away on instinct just as Miho charges straight at you. He sidesteps the incoming punch using his right hand. Miho swings to hit him again, but an irritated Dijon dodges once more. The leader yells at him to stop ducking as he readies himself for the next hit. Then he spots a sign telling everyone to hold their breath, because this opponent has him completely caught off guard. Dijon wonders if anyone else is there too. All eyes are on the student wearing glasses. That student wondered if they were talking about him. Miho walked up to Dijon, his eyes burning with rage. The protagonist throws another punch, but Miho blocks it with his wrist and jokes about playing until Dijon is done, only for Miho to try and stab his neck with 2 fingers while Dijon easily dodges. The protagonist declares he'll finish it alone, landing a mighty punch right on the leader's face that knocks him out cold while spitting saliva and crashing face first to the ground. Dijon asks who this man is, declares he no longer wants to fight in fear, and steps forward with newfound courage. The bullies couldn't believe what just happened. Everyone else is just as shocked. Dijon kicks Miho and tells him to get up. He walks and tells the bullies to take Miho to the infirmary, revealing that they now work for him, leaving them in shock. The 2 agreed they were in big trouble while hiding in the teacher's lounge. She watches the classroom and thinks Deja doesn't seem like a transfer student. But now she has a long meeting to get through. She glances at her phone, her heart pounding with excitement as she wonders what he's about to do next. As she walks down the hallway, wondering if it's time to start the next part of her plan, a schoolgirl watches her, mistakenly believing she runs the foundation, just before her colleague appears and tells G to head to the classroom. G wonders why the director is at the school. While in the classroom, Dijon lectures the bullies that school is for learning, causing them to lower their heads when the blonde insists they aren't bullies, and Ho Jang warns them to stop since everyone is watching with scary faces. Dijon walks up to the blonde bully and warns him he can be a friend or a nightmare, but the bully chooses to be friends. Dijon stares angrily at Ho Jang, calling him breadface, and ordering him to stop eating. The guy asks why, but the irritated protagonist just tells him to stop eating the bread. And Ho Jang obeys the order, turning his attention to the other students while Dijon warns them with a mischievous grin that anyone who causes trouble will be set straight. One student looks surprised, thinking the protagonist is both scary and kind, and starts to wonder if things will ever get better in the classroom. After spending some time in the third classroom on the first floor, we watch a student show a video of Dijon's fight with Miho, calling it entertainment and asking for their opinion, only to hear the reply that the newcomer got lucky and has no real skill. Then the student plays the video for others, claiming Miho only learned kickboxing after getting knocked out by Sangbo, and then stands up in anger, shouting that Miho became the classroom boss just by playing dirty. After heading to train, the student asks where the punching bag is, only for another student to immediately tell him it's right there. The bully declares it's his turn and punches the student right in the stomach, so hard that the pain makes him drool. Sangbo starts counting up the strikes he wants to deal out and finally settles on a massive 800 hits. The class leader, brimming with confidence, orders the punching bag to skip its meal before the fight. The bully told the group to set up punching bags for his warm-up before chasing the new students, and later that day at high school, Dijon sat in class realizing that skipping important lessons last year was a mistake. So he decided that being in school was far better than studying alone and he needed to take this chance to make up for his past. After a while, the teacher finally called the class to a close. Dijon asks Mu if he can borrow his notes during the break, and Mu says yes. Ho-jong stretches and says he's hungry. He says no one is bringing him food, and at that exact moment, Dijon just stares right at him. The two bullies turn pale with fear as the blonde girl urges Ho-jong to keep moving, only for him to reveal he's riding another student like a horse and claims he accidentally got on the strange transport. Ho-jong thinks about how he can survive school without a student to buy his bread, knowing the boy wouldn't even be able to react. So the group crowds around Miho, worried he looks unwell and heading out, but the woman insists that bringing him outside won't help at all. She tells the boys that they are miserable. She walks up to him, telling him he's incredible in a fight and inviting him to learn jiu-jitsu together. The three are stunned to see her flirting with Dijon, remembering how Ho-jong once invited her to learn jiu-jitsu only to get cursed at. So Dijon excitedly asks the girl if there is a dojo nearby. The girl mentions a dojo, but she says she can find another one if he prefers. The confused hero glances right, then left as the girl asks what's wrong, and finally realizes he's staring at the board. She knows he wants those notes, so she wonders if she's being a bother. Dijon scratched his head, admitted he didn't catch what she said, and asked her to repeat herself. She was deeply disappointed, but she brushed it off as nothing and told him to study hard so he could grow up to be someone great. The three stare at her without saying a word, and the girl calls them pathetic and tells them to study harder, only for Miho to realize that she has taken over as class leader by beating him, which means he now has to fight Mongjong from class 2 and Sangbo from class 3, and could lose his own spot even though he already beat both of them himself. Then he says that Miho didn't beat them with his skills. Miho realizes that if the two beat Daeon, the other leaders will take over, which makes Ho-jong panic and call them the worst possible choice right now. The door opens and someone slips inside, making Miho snap into high alert as he tries to figure out who it is. Kim Yong-jong, the leader of class 2, asks Miho if he's okay after getting beaten up. The girl was shocked when the blonde guy suddenly said he wanted to punch the leader they had just been talking about. Kim wonders if Miho stayed up all night or got punched and is just grumpy now. But when Ho-jang stands up to ask if Kim is just making fun of him, Miho quickly tells Ho-jong to stop. He stands up and asks if Kim came looking for a fight, confident that he can take her down again. Kim admits he's becoming too arrogant and claims his only loss happened because Miho cheated by sneaking up on him. Miho warns his friend to be quiet before he hits him, but the other friend just laughs and says go ahead, only for someone else to suddenly yell for silence, leaving them both shocked while Dijon scolds them for talking too much and wanting to study instead, prompting Miho to return to his desk and remind them to focus, even as Ho-jong insists that break time is still on. Kim suddenly sees that the student who shouted is the new kid, grinning mockingly. Kim looks at Ho-jong and Miho and tells them he won't deal with the dead guy. Ho-jong, feeling annoyed, declares he dislikes them and wants to handle the newcomer himself. So Miho agrees and heads over to Deja's desk while Kim and his partner watch in confusion. Kim wonders if that really is the newcomer, and while her partner confirms it, he notes that the man looks quite different from the video as he gets closer to the protagonist. Kim wonders if he's a criminal, but his partner just laughs and says he looks like a nerd with glasses. Kim leans right up to Dejian's face, watching him seriously as he makes him repeat his earlier shout. Dejian sits quiet and seething as he studies the mess they're in. Kim tells him to repeat what he said, noting that while he used to complain about the noise, he now seems deaf to his partner, and she adds that the newcomer is so scared he won't speak even when Kim brings her hand close to his desk, insisting that he must listen to anyone who talks simply by reflex. The protagonist clutches Kim's hand so hard, terrified by what's happening. Kim told him to stay calm while he was in a lot of pain. He asks the other students to stop and just watch in shock while he squeezes Kim's hand. The protagonist tells Kim he has to finish his notes and should come back later if he doesn't want to be left with hands sweating cold. And Kim understands after letting go of his hand. He urges him to leave right now, before he alters his decision. Kim rushes to his partner and urgently orders them to leave, repeating himself until they finally get out. Kim turns to the protagonist with a punch ready to land, furious that he doesn't care about his notes anymore. Dejin grabs the leader of Class 2's arm and punches Kim in the face with his palm, knocking him out cold as his partner rushes over to check his pulse and confirm he's still breathing. Dejin questions Kim's role as leader of Class 2, his eyes flashing with evil intent as he threatens death if he ever meets them again after she wakes up, leaving the students amazed by Dejin's display, while the protagonist can't help but think how convenient it was to accidentally take down their rival. The whole group in the room is stunned by what's happening. Scared, Hojong pleads for them to drop the revenge, saying he's decided to forgive the newbie. The blonde girl then says that this way they'll just be nerds who study hard. Just then, the leader of Class 3 burst in to find Miho, his voice trembling with shock at what he'd just heard. Hojong wonders if they should line up outside, and Miho replies that he'll have to get up again. Sangbo says he can be quiet since they didn't chase him. Hojang asks why they came here to start a fight, but the blonde tells him to calm down while the bullies from Class 3 surround Dejan and Moo's tables. Dejan was so stunned by the situation that he decided to save the notes for another time. Sango grabs MSU by the head and tells him to leave, while the bully sits in the chair and asks Dejan if he is studying, and one of the bully's friends looks at the protagonist and says he is handsome. Shimangbo claims he is the leader of Class 3 and is standing right here because he wants to know if Daeon thinks he's the boss just because he hit Miho back then. The hero pounds his fist hard against the table. Frustrated by the loud noise, he snaps at Sangbo to just tell him what he wants. The bully calls the protagonist brave, but she asks how talking to an idiot counts, ending with a deadly glare by calling him pathetic. Sangbo thinks the hero is a funny guy. He looks at Dejan and tells him to prepare outside, warning that he's not weak and needs to get ready. Just as Miho slips out of the room, the bully shouts at his friends to leave too. Confused, the protagonist wonders why everyone has been so strange since day one, when he just wanted to study. Usually, the girl studying the scene says Sangbo is super tough and Dejan is in big trouble, but the blonde is totally shocked by her classmates' worry. She answers that she simply doesn't care for Sangbo and prefers the newcomer, then asks the blonde guy if he wants Sangbo to become the new leader. Miho shook his head and said no. Then the blonde woman asked him where he was going. Then the girl asks if he's going to talk to the newbie and if she can come along. When he reaches the protagonist's table and asks to sit, Dejan simply says no. Ignoring the refusal, Miho sits down and tells Sangbo he's a real fighter unlike anyone in Class 2, while fixing his glasses and hearing Dejan say not to worry. To everyone's shock, Miho tells Hojong he wants to help, and the blonde woman looks stunned. Then the girl jumps for joy at the thought. Suspicious, the protagonist questions Miho's strange plans, but Miho insists he'll explain Sangbo's secret training, only to be ignored again as he reveals Sangbo has been boxing since childhood, though real fights are now just a distant thought in Sangbo's mind. He asks the 3 students he finds to bring his punching bags and wonders if there should be 4 of them instead. One student tells everyone that the 4th one is in the hospital. Sangbo, feeling annoyed, asks if it was his mistake, but the student replies with a smug look that the 4th one just ended up somewhere. Sangbo insists it isn't his fault since he's training them, but admits he can't be blamed for all of them being so stiff. He tells them that the trio must push harder, and now their real journey begins. The 3 students crouch into a fighting stance, their hearts pounding with fear as they glare with hate, while the bully shouts that they can come forward. One student shuts his eyes and throws a fast punch. Sangbo hits the student right on the chin, sending him tumbling backward. One of the students, trembling with fear, suddenly finds the bravery to rush forward. Sangbo slips out of the punch, lands a solid hit on his ribs with his left arm, and then finishes it off with a sharp blow to the face using his right arm. The second student crashes to the ground, shaking like a leaf from sheer terror. Only one student is left to deal with this mess. Sangbo shouts at him to hurry up and come right now. This poor student is scared to death, but he runs right at the bully and gets hit straight in the face. The bully throws a flurry of punches at the student, forcing him to block with his arms while the whole class watches, and one of the students who got hit is now lying on the ground staring up at the bully. Sangbo turns around and calmly asks why they are sitting while he stands to hit lightly so it lasts longer. The bully mocks them for faking it and tells them to try harder so they can get it over with. With 2 students trembling in fear after being beaten, Sangbo decided it was time to go visit their friend in the hospital. After spending some time in high school, the protagonist and MSU grabbed food during the cafeteria break. He sits at a table staring at his plate of school food, missing the simpler days when his boss at the store was so kind. Two girls stare at the protagonist, with one gushing over his looks while her friend wonders if Dejin really arrived today at another table, and nearby students chatter about the newcomer who just beat two leaders, with one even asking how he can want to lead so soon. One person claimed the newcomer managed to do all of this in a single moment. Then one student spoke up, saying it was probably just luck and that he would have to face Sangbo no matter what. Gusonghwa, the leader of the special sports class, declares that the protagonist's table will soon reveal whether their success was luck or skill, while a classmate invites the lonely Dejin to join the others, sparking chatter among the students about the newcomer and whether he has joined Minha's group. Quack Duchik, the boss of the special arts class, asks his friend if he's not more handsome than the new guy, and the friend agrees right at class 1's table while the protagonist eats rice and Miho tells him to finish it all, which makes Sangbo suspicious because he heard Miho say he'd beat Sangbo and wonders why he's helping. Miho insists that his battle with Sangbo is still going on. Then he recalls how Sangbo beat him up until he was exhausted. Sangbo taunts a weary Miho, daring him to keep fighting until he's bleeding, but Miho retaliates with a swift punch that Sangbo barely dodges. Sangbo punches Miho in the face, but Miho tries to hit back with a right punch that Sangbo easily dodges before striking Miho's ribs hard with a left jab, then pins Sangbo against the wall and forces him to submit to a forbidden technique that attacks the bully's weak spots, leaving Miho in shock. The protagonist asked if that's what he used before diving back into his memories. The bully breaks down from the pain and gives up, while Miho remembers that even after he beat Sangbo, the bully still wouldn't admit it and nobody believed he had one. The hero wonders if anyone could handle such a hard hit. Miho wraps up by saying Sangbo is a master of both defense and offense, noting that while his hits aren't the hardest, his aim is perfect, which makes the blonde suspect Sangbo stopped fighting because of his mysterious new power. Miho seriously tells me that the third-year bully will handle Dejin, and he hopes I can win from the sidelines. The hero watched as two students chatted nearby. He pauses to carefully consider who they are speaking with. One student asks if his friend is worried about the new guy, and the other just laughs, saying Sangbo will win no matter what. A piece of food drops right onto Deja's plate. That boy says sorry for it. The protagonist, feeling annoyed and nervous, asks what's going on. The girl wonders if the student has lost his mind for doing something so childish. He says he already apologized and that she can eat both if she wants to, while leaving in a hurry with a laugh. The protagonist grabs one of their arms and demands to know where they're going, their voice filled with anger. Dejin insists the dish isn't fried octopus but something called dorikim, and a girl with glasses watches from another table, guessing a fight might break out. Your friend looked at the rowdy group and whispered that the new guy must be a bully too, but then added that he's actually really handsome, while others watch closely to guess what the hero will do next. Dejin wonders exactly where the octopus is hiding. The bully shakes with fear, insists it's no big deal, and tells the newcomer to apologize while squeezing tighter. Dejin wonders if he must apologize right now, even though his heart is pounding and he feels terrible. The bully stands there, not knowing what to do next. In the end, the hero tells everyone that only he can choose whether to say sorry or not. Right then, Dejin catches a sound. Before he opens the message, he warns the bully not to move. Operation Chief Lee Sim wants to speak with you. After reading the message, the protagonist feels a chill remembering Lee Sim's promise of a full scholarship and living support, which came with a strict rule of secrecy. If he slips up and gets caught, the whole plan will be cancelled and he'll be forced to go back to his boring old life. The hero finally gets to settle the score with the bully. As the bully warns his friend it's time to go, the protagonist catches them slipping away while he keeps eating. The old bully, Ho Jiang, says the trouble isn't with the two of them but with standing next to the school's strongest guy, Sang Ho Jong, who asks why MSU is staring at him, and she replies that it's just a mix-up. Dejin believes he can't be shaken by the chaos and needs his project to succeed to reach his dreams, feeling he has already done enough for the first day, while two other students notice nothing changed and one remarks that the newcomer isn't fighting for anything different from what the rumors said. Dejin declares he's walking away while Miho shares Sangbo's plan, but Dejin refuses to use it. The blonde notes that the protagonist looks different now that he's seen the phone. Miho warns he's unpredictable outside the cafeteria, and the protagonist worries that standing out on his first day will make Lais think strangely of him. While Dejin was thinking things over, he spotted the bully from before and spun around to escape the mess. The protagonist yanks the bully by the scruff of his neck while the bully warns him that, as a newcomer, he doesn't know the school's rule. You can't mess with students from other classes unless you beat Sangbo first. For generations this school has kept a strict tradition, and if the main character breaks it, he risks becoming a target. So when two people approach during their talk, Daeon quickly insists they move somewhere else. The bully refuses, so the hero asks if he wants to get beaten right then, and the bully agrees to leave. Elsewhere in the school, someone is taking a hard hit right to their stomach. The bully spits and howls in pain as he falls to the ground, shouting that the newcomer will regret it before being completely ignored. The protagonist tells the bully to call his leader, explaining that if he beats Sangbo, he can fight without trouble, but the bully lying on the ground says it won't work now because Sangbo is busy hitting the punching bags. Daejeon wonders if those punching bags are actually students, and the bully laughs, saying yes and asking if the protagonist has ever used one in class. The protagonist declares he won't let this go. After a while in classroom 3, thinking he had finally found the right place, the protagonist felt determined until a student suddenly shot toward the door and made him jump. Curious, Sangbo asks out loud, "Who is hiding behind that door?" His classmate instantly opens the door and says he'll take a look, so the protagonist tells him to move aside. Sangbo warned he'd be waiting for the newcomer after class, and the protagonist realized the bully only picks on folks who can't fight back. Irritated, Sangbo demanded to know what Daejeon was doing in his room and ordered the terrified students on the floor to leave, leaving one paralyzed under the bully's choking grip who accused the student of causing trouble and hurting him. The hurt kid just claims he tripped on his way home and it was his own bad luck, so the bully laughs and tells everyone they are all weak. Feeling irritated, the protagonist glances aside to see the classroom full of silent students, and that's when he finally understands why they aren't moving. He convinces himself he knows this for sure, recalling the days when he was beaten at school and the bullies hit him nonstop while the adults pretended not to notice. There was nothing we could do, until someone appeared to fix the mess. A student who was even tougher than the bully beating up Daejeon stepped in and warned that anyone who touched Daejeon would be dead. Seeing all this, the protagonist felt saved, knowing that the only way to stop a bully for good was with another bully. And right then, Daejeon became that person, realizing everyone needed to know it and dreaming of being the bully at the top, commanding all the others. After hearing those words, the hero turns to Sangbo and says, "Stop pretending you're strong, since you only hit the weak. Go out there and beat someone who can actually fight back." Sangbo then wonders if the newcomer Daejeon must be the stronger one. In return, he asks if he can use Sangbo's classmate to practice on. Fuming with anger, the classmate looks at him and asks exactly what he is saying, sounding totally sure of himself. The hero declares that his heavy build and striking looks make him the perfect punching bag. Suddenly, one of the bully's friends lunges at him. Daejeon blocks the punch with his left hand, grabs the bully's collarbone with his right, and then throws a quick right hook that knocks the bully out cold on the floor. The students stood frozen in shock with their hands in their pockets, while the protagonist confirmed his skill at hitting and asked Sangbo what he wanted. Fuming with anger, Sangbo listens as the protagonist asks how many punches he wants to take right now. Sangbo is blown away by how easily the protagonist sends his giant classmate crashing into the lockers, proving right then and there that this newcomer isn't an ordinary kid. Then he asks the newcomer if he only knows how to make things angry and tells the students to push their desks forward. After they start pushing, the main character realizes the bully got hurt and needs room to fight, so a classmate urges him to head to room 3 where Sangbo and the newcomer are ready to battle. Hearing this, the students also decide to head inside the cafeteria. Hojong wonders why the ice creams have gotten so tiny, and the blonde just tells him that he is the one who ended up huge. Suddenly, a student screams that Sangbo and the newcomer are fighting in room 3, so they decide to go along with it too. As the 3 students from class 1 entered room 3, they held their breath, hoping the fight wouldn't happen until after school. They know the fight is starting and wish they had bought some popcorn. The protagonist watched the video and realized that even though Sangbo beat Miho, it didn't look like Sangbo was very skilled. In the middle of it all, Sangbo gets fired up, charges at Daejeon with blazing speed, and throws a left punch that Daejeon barely dodges on instinct. Then Sangbo quickly changes his angle and throws a right punch, but the opponent sidesteps it again. The hero is convinced he's quicker than any pro boxer, but every time he closes in, Sangbo zips away to stay out of reach. He keeps trailing behind the protagonist, making sure to stay right by their side. Sangbo throws a right-handed punch, which the hero dodges to find an opening, and Sangbo immediately leaps backward to escape a cross-punch he senses coming. Knowing the newcomer can spot an opening but it won't help anyway, the protagonist suddenly realizes that Sangbo can see exactly how his shoulder moves, proving he isn't just an ordinary guy but a trained expert with a natural talent and a skill for using his feet. And besides that, he moves fast, sprinting toward the protagonist and throwing a rapid series of punches, but the protagonist slips past every single one. Miho watches the fight and realizes he's caught with no way to fight back, leaving him wondering what Daejeon will do next. The hero finds a gap to slip through, leaving Sangbo stunned as he fails to dodge it. Then Daejeon takes a hard right cross to the upper arm, but he doesn't flinch as he absorbs the impact. The bully stumbled back from the hit and wondered if a normal person could have punched so hard that he took damage even while blocking it. Ho Jang and the blonde were caught off guard when the counterattack hit them right in the face. Daejeon realizes Sangbo moves faster than normal and can read any situation in an instant. The bully finally figured out how powerful the hero really is just from that one punch. He comes up with a plan to fake a punch and land a real one right as the protagonist steps back to throw his. At first, the hero spots something strange while watching everything move so fast. Sangbo gathers his speed and charges right at Dijon, only to realize it's time to dodge as Dijon throws the first punch. Sangbo felt happy and relieved that his guess was right. The hero winds up and kicks the bully's lower thigh so hard that it hurts and leaves him shocked he could have been hit that way. Suddenly, he loses control and throws a punch with his left arm, but Dejin keeps dodging him. He thinks quickly about his next step and then kicks with all his might. While his classmates noticed Sangbo was so locked into his punches that he ignored his kicks, making him look clumsy when seen from above. The new kid snaps at the bully, telling him to get up. Sangbo stands up, curses the other guy for being rude and ignoring him. Dijon kicks him in the same spot again, shocked that he's still standing, and orders him to get up fast. His classmates stare in shock while Miho says he should have punched him in the face with a fierce glare. The protagonist wonders if Sangbo's leg hurts and thinks he should lie down if it does, even though he's trembling and irritated. The bully taunts him, saying he hasn't won the fight yet. The protagonist gets ready to kick and thanks him for the compliment, but Sangbo braces for a third hit to a spot already hit twice, only for the protagonist to plant his feet and throw a fake punch with his right hand. The bully barely blocks with his left arm before realizing another punch is coming, only to find it halted in midair by the protagonist's hand. He treated it like another fake out to trip the bully, leaving every student in class 3 stunned. Confused, his classmates finally figure out that this is Miho's way of doing things. Other students say he got kicked 4 times in the same spot and are worried he won't be able to move. Sangbo kneels on the floor, trapped and unable to move even as he hangs from the ceiling. A camera captures the whole fight and projects it onto a screen where a man watches with delight, thinking these boys know exactly how to fight with confidence. The protagonist asks Sangbo what he is doing and orders him to stand up and face him. Feeling angry with his hand on his leg, the bully thinks hard about his next move, knowing his leg can't take another hit. The students stared at the fight, totally confused by what they were seeing. Sangbo feels humiliated as students mock his busted leg, but the truth is that footwork and distance are everything in boxing, even for fighters who fear getting hit. He explains that if a kick is like a bullet, then your feet are the ones doing the firing. So if you have a better weapon, you will hit your target much better. It would be like Sangbo holding a powerful gun but missing the leg that lets him throw his deadly punches. While the bully's leg shakes from the pain, he grits his teeth and says it isn't over, but the protagonist, annoyed by his stubbornness, challenges him to keep taking hits before unleashing a heavy punch that the bully only barely blocks with his arms, sending him flying backward. Furious and in pain, he braces himself against the blows, knowing he can't move his legs to dodge right now. Dejin throws another kick, but Sangbo blocks it once more. It hurt a lot right after the block wore off. While the other students keep studying the fight, they whisper that the hero will soon smash through the bully's guard right after the block. Sangbo slams his back against a wall and turns to see it. The protagonist comes back, and Sangbo realizes he must run from that wall. He just barely dodges the protagonist's punch, somehow slipping out of the way at the last second. He tries to fight back, but the hero slips out of the way and lands a hard punch to Sangbo's ribs, making Sangbo realize something is terribly wrong with his breathing. Next, Jan throws a left punch, and at the same time, another right punch is thrown and blocked as well. Sangbo is in so much pain. Miho declares the fight finished as Sangbo gets pinned against the wall, taking hit after hit. He's stuck choosing between fighting back or just taking the hit. The blonde wonders if it's a massacre since Sangbo is getting hit so hard, and Ho-jong reminds everyone that he used to look just like a punching bag. As Sangbo trains, the other gym-goers are so impressed by his skill that they urge him to step into a real fight. Then the gym teacher says he isn't interested in joining a league or anything like that. Right then, a teen steps forward saying he's Sangbo's friend. He is calling Sangbo to head home after their training. Sangbo proudly displays the tattoo he's about to get. Sangbo waves goodbye to the teacher, but he's holding back something important he needs to say. The teacher looks worried and asks Sangbo if he enjoys messing with people, telling him to keep fighting only in the ring because that is the most important thing about boxing. Sometime later, Sangbo stands over a weaker student in the classroom, punching him in the face without stopping while his scary glare makes everyone freeze. He laughs, saying this is far better than a punching bag, and soon a line of students forms up to take their turn getting beaten. Sangbo's friend tells him that this weapon is tough enough to take a hit while he strikes hard, so Sangbo uses it to hit another student. His friend says this must hurt his back right now. The hero is tearing Sangbo apart right in front of his friend, who can only watch it happen. The bully took a relentless rain of punches, looking like a broken punching bag until he finally spat out the blood from all the beating he was taking. Shock rippled through the room as his friend couldn't believe how Sangbo had turned into an easy target for everyone. In his eyes, the hero is actually hitting a punching bag, throwing a left jab followed by a strong kick that sends the bag swinging back and forth without stopping. In truth, it is Sangbo who is taking all the hits as the real punching bag. With a mighty right hook, the punching bag chain snaps, marking the end of the bully Sangbo, who lies out cold on the floor like a broken sack. After being utterly destroyed and knowing he can never win, he watches the protagonist slowly walk toward him. With a terrifying glare, Dijon warns the bully he has only 10 seconds before turning the tables in Class 3, leaving the bully frozen with fear. Sangbo is exhausted and has no clue what just went down. While the hero stares him down, the bully looks away in shame after seeing the outcome. The students in his class couldn't believe what they were seeing. The others who were knocked down also didn't seem to react to what happened. His friend knew why Sangbo had never joined a boxing match and asked him, and Sangbo just said it bored him. His friend knows why the bully backed off from Miho, even boasting that he'd win. And that is why he is so fixated on turning physically weak students into easy targets. The truth is, Sangbo just wants to look tougher than everyone else outside of school. But deep down, he is also scared of getting knocked out. Sangbo's friend steps in to stop the fight and declares that they must admit defeat. Then the hero puts an end to the battle. As he stared down the bully, he declared that he wanted to hear the truth straight from his own mouth. Shame burned in his eyes as he bit his lip and confessed that the bully everyone feared had just been humiliated, leaving the shocked students speechless. As he walks away, the hero sneers at the bully, saying he's not even good enough to be a punching bag or make a boxer look good. The students keep saying that the newcomer is as strong as they come. Meanwhile, a student asked his classmate if they were done being punching bags, and he replied that he didn't know, but warned that if the newcomer became one, it would just mean another bully had arrived. Ho-jong stands frozen in shock while Miho tries to figure out just how powerful Dajuan really is. One student asks his leader what he thinks of the newcomer, and the leader replies that while the new guy is tough, they need to watch him closer to see what he's really capable of. Just as he turns to go, a student steps in his way. The student wondered if Deja had been terrified to see Sangbo and fled. Then when they heard a shout, they froze in fear, fearing it might be Sangbo's voice. Walking to the classroom door, he sees that Sangbo has lost. Right then, the new arrival asks if he has anything left to say. The student shakes his head and says he's heading out. He runs straight into someone right at the door. Miho, along with his two friends, tells him to move out of the way. Without delay, the student accepts this. Fuming, he believes Miho is just riding on the newcomer's strength. The student rushes to Sangbo, who is lying on the ground, and asks if he needs help getting to the infirmary. Sangbo just glares back at the student, feeling annoyed. Scared, he realizes just how furious Sangbo is and rushes all the students out of the classroom. Sangbo screams that it won't end like this. His face twisting with so much anger, he looks like he might explode. After a while in the meeting room, the fight finally plays out on the projector screen. While Lee watches, a project team member tells her that her heartfelt ideas have moved him so much that he is now ready to join the work. They declared the old rules dead and said it was time to finally leave them behind. Lee snaps at him, shouting about his past actions and how things would spiral out of control without rules, while the president asks why she's been so loud lately. Sam Lee fell quiet, telling her not to worry, suggesting they hide Dijon inside the school and asking what power a man with nothing can wield. He compares the new person to a hungry cat desperately chasing mice, while reminding us that we are actually the ones holding the leash. Back at the high school, whispers about Sangbo's loss are already flying, and in Class 4, a student slams his hand down on the desk. Park Dojin, the class leader of Class 4, throws a party to celebrate. He asks another student for cash as payment while his friend wonders what he plans to do next. Park says he doesn't mind that at all. Now in the 9th grade, a student adjusts his glasses. Lee Sun-hun is the class leader of the entrance exam. Heading toward Class 6, we see Yuji, the boss of Class 5. He says he can't believe Miho is eating with Deja, the Class 3 leader, but he promises he can take Miho out whenever he wants. Right then, you told a student he was heading to Class 6 for a meal, and the student just shrugged and said it didn't matter to him. You whispers that the new student feels different and urges us to make a careful plan. Then Bekusi, the self-proclaimed queen of Class 6, declares she's sick of guys trying to act like the boss and warns she'll tell her AA if they get caught. But Yu says she can't drag in a third-year boss to fight a first year. In the end, Yu insists that we must still think this through. Later, outside the school, Dae-jun asks Ho-jong and the blonde why they're following him, and Ho-jong replies that they are family now. Miho warns the protagonist that the leaders have been playing it safe until now, but soon they will finally make their move. He says that even if the hero doesn't want to fight, he still needs to get ready because it's not going to be easy. Ho-jong quickly changes the subject, saying they'll decide later. But now he wants to head to the internet cafe since he finally got some silver and LOL and is inviting Daejeon along. Watching the car, Daejeon gets the idea that it belongs to the principal. He apologizes and says he has plans, but even if he didn't, he still wouldn't join the two of them because the protagonist never plays with gold or silver. Ho-jong then tells them they must take revenge on Daejeon. Student Ja walks along the sidewalk, leaving the scene behind. Her friend leans in to ask what went wrong. Ji is completely stunned, convinced that Daejeon just jumped into the director's car, and wondering why he'd do that, suspecting she's plotting something again. So she tells the protagonist he's already caused a lot of trouble on his first serious day. The hero insists he only fought back because the others attacked him for no reason. Sam Lee stayed quiet after the protagonist spoke. He gives up on the fight and just wants to know what kind of trouble he's in for. When asked, Sam Lee grinned and said there would be no punishment because he did a great job today. She also says the rules are changing, and in the future they plan to let fewer students get kicked out. Daejeon, curious about the words, asks what they mean, and Sam Lee answers that every single day will be just like today. Thinking back to those battles, the protagonist wonders if they will truly be the same. He spoke with excitement that he didn't need to be patient, but Sam Lee questioned if he ever really had been. Noticing something strange, the protagonist asks how she knew what happened today and wonders if she was watching him. Sam Lee pushes her glasses up and says this is confidential information. Confused by how they got inside the school, Daejeon briefly suspects Minsu is a spy, but he quickly shakes it off as just another silly rumor. Next, they walk up to a big building. Sam Lee swings open the door to show where you'll be staying and asks if what he's saying is really true. Feeling right at home, Daejeon says it's amazing to live in a house with a sofa, and even as a secret agent, he is being treated very well. He doubted everything, but he felt certain someone had once called this place home. Sam Lee replies that she once lived in this very house. Feeling embarrassed, the protagonist shouts that it makes no sense for them to keep living in the same house. Sam Lee's eyes burn with hatred as she asks what he means, then answers that it isn't that. Feeling ashamed, the protagonist just says it's okay. She explains that the school principal liked the hero's first day so much they relaxed the rules and will now trust his judgment, but violence outside the school isn't their problem either, and since the teachers know nothing about this secret plan, violence can happen inside just as easily as it does out there. She ends by telling him the administration is ready to help, but warns him not to push himself too hard. Sam Lee hands him a card, telling him to use it for his daily needs and that he can live alone in the house. After that, Sam Lee waves a friendly goodbye and wishes him luck for the day ahead. She walks away without a glance, whispers her farewells, and vows to do nothing but follow orders. Then Sam Lee heads down the building stairs to a huge, strong door and slides it open with her fingerprint. Inside the quiet monitoring room, rows of glowing screens light up the space. Just then, the hero leaned back on the sofa while Sam Lee settled into a chair to get straight to work. Sometime later at school, he thought that after all those nights sleeping on a hard floor, he was finally too tired to stay awake. Then he opens his eyes and realizes he's speaking to his teacher. Frustrated, the teacher snaps that the student is closing his eyes while he's talking. He says Daejeon has been hitting students since day one and that he'll have to talk to his relatives. But then he realizes that Daejeon has no one left to go to. Frustrated, the protagonist just listens to the teacher's long-winded lecture. While the protagonist listens to the teacher's sermon, student Gina just watches the scene unfold. She leans in to watch the conversation unfold. One of the teachers tells Gi she's the top student in the whole school, asks if she's also the class leader, and Gi says yes before the teacher sends her to her classroom. She beams and whispers that it's all right. Walking into her classroom, Ji watches as Daejeon talks with his teacher. Based on what she heard, the new guy started fighting the moment he moved to his new place. She wonders if he's been doing nothing but that since he got to school. Later in classroom 6, Yu snaps photos of Bayak and asks why she hides her face, only for her to reply that she wants him to take pictures of her body alone. Someone calls Yu from behind as two students ask if he heard about what happened to Sangbo. Yu says he heard, but since he can't reach him, he orders both of them to leave Sangbo alone. Then they ask what he plans for the transferred student Daejeon, noting that Sangbo had a certain way about him and that every new student eventually ended up just like Sangbo, but before he could finish, someone interrupts him. This is Kim Yong-jun, the desperate leader of Class 6. The student claims he never said Kim or Gio would lose the fight. The head of Class 6 calls a trembling student to his desk. The student insists he's not saying the class will lose, just that they might fight right then. Kim slams a fist into the student's face, leaving him bleeding and dizzy from the shock, then yanks him right up close. Terrified, the student stepped forward only to get hit even harder right in the middle of his face. Now utterly worn out, he can no longer keep both eyes open without feeling shaken. The class leader warns him to keep his mouth shut. Frightened, The student who got hit throws his phone and apologizes, while Kim shouts that they're idiots, orders them out, and backs away. Once they left the room, the students followed his orders. One student hit by the attack says he wants to escape this hell, and his friend asks if transferring schools from afar isn't the best idea, while another leader claims that Kim has a powerful charm. The head of Class 6 answered, saying he just wanted to punch the two idiots. Jayak insists we can't just ignore what was said and suggests we move slowly instead. Kim wonders if he knows that automatic fighting is the new way to play games these days. He crossed his arms as the student proudly insisted he never plays without that option. Kim knows why everyone loves this choice. On sunny school days, they get to keep their hands out of the heat. The hero pushes up his glasses and glances sideways, puzzled by how his classmate suddenly has them on. Feeling suspicious, he asks his classmate if he isn't using a camera inside his glasses. Confused by what's happening, MSU asks what Dijon means, but Dijon just tells him to forget it and points out that he's suddenly wearing glasses. Then he says he used to wear them all the time, but his mind was wandering everywhere. His classmate spots another student who looks just like the manga character Cub, and Ho Jang tells him to take off his glasses before heading to the cafeteria, explaining that he wore them because he was scared of getting hit. But now that the protagonist is here, he won't need to, only for him to accidentally call Ho Jang a bastard while eating bread and wonder why he's sweating cold. He shouts at the blonde to play, but she refuses, so he gets up in a huff and warns Ho Jang to stop eating bread before he bends over as far as he can. He apologizes, but the blonde girl is confused and wonders if something is wrong with him or if the bread is poisoned. At that exact moment, the guy who only ever got knocked down adjusted his glasses. Then Dijon looks at him with a nervous, confused expression, suspiciously adjusting his glasses while claiming he hasn't worn them in ages. The nervous newcomer admits he's been feeling strange lately and believes someone is watching him from outside the classroom, right as another student appears there. He sees Dijon studying and can't believe it's really him. As the girl outside the door sees the newcomer inside, she and her classmates quickly realize he is far more normal than they had thought. As the girl walks down the hallway and looks into the classroom, she accidentally bumps into a student who instantly gets mad and tells her to get lost while she feels scared. As the girl walks away, she still thinks the guy is a bad guy pretending to be tough. He turns to the window and sees Dijon watching him before Dijon turns to keep walking. He starts to wonder just how long he's been standing there, caught in the silent stares of everyone around him. In 9th grade, the girl with glasses tells a story about her classmate who stopped by class 1 to see the handsome newcomer, while most of the other girls went just to see him, but her friend thought he only cared about studying and didn't care about looks at all. Feeling bored and annoyed, she tries to think of what to say, but her friend calms things down by telling her it's fine and that he's actually quite handsome. She nods in agreement, realizing there's a good reason to watch out for the new student. After a while, the day finally fades as the sun dips below the horizon. Watching the protagonist, the girl recognizes him as Kwon Jun, a transfer from Incheon who Era says has an irresistible charm, even noting she saw him in the food alley on her way to school, which leaves her friend stunned and hiding behind a pillar as she watches him walk back from school without the principal. She wonders about their connection and needs to know why he was moved right then. While other students gather, the one watching Dijon asks the class leader if they really have to do that pointless assignment. Kim nods in agreement, insisting that if they follow his plan, the 4 of them will manage just fine. One student says he's happy to help, but Miho is with Pam, and neither of them are leaders, so they can't face the class leader. Kim, annoyed, asks what the trouble is, challenges the student on whether his own class is holding him back from showing all he's got, questions why he wouldn't beat half his classmates if he were elsewhere, wonders if the student respects the rules the class leaders made, declares that he and Jaeok will soon rule over all the new students anyway, says he'll handle everything himself, insists they just wrap this up right now, and tells the student to call him once it's all done. Once Kim was gone, a classmate whispered that he seemed like any ordinary student until now, while another agreed it was a great chance to lift their status from afar, all while watching the protagonist sip his iced tea as a newcomer walked past them. He hurls the cup to the floor and shouts that they must follow him, his words dripping with suspicion. Dijon starts to think someone is chasing him. As he turns the corner and walks on like nothing is wrong, the group trails behind him while the stalker stares in confusion, wondering why this new guy has suddenly drawn their attention. She creeps out from her hiding spot to peek at what's happening. The student before him spots the move, glances at the girl he just bumped, and asks what she's up to. The girl pretends to be on a phone call because she suspects something is wrong. The student tells his friend to keep going and says he'll catch up to face the girl. He claims she's been shadowing him for a while, but she retorts that he's mistaken since she's just heading in the same direction. Then he recalls running into her at school and wondering once more why she keeps following him. Suddenly, he realizes she likes him, tells her she's cute, asks once more why she's being followed, and offers to show her what he does. and the girl has no clue what that confident look really means. The student wraps his arms around the stalker and says he's going to rent a room to play with her later, asking if she wants to come, but right then she shoves him away, telling him to take his hands off her because she's completely fed up. He curses at her, saying she followed him because she likes him, and then walks right up to the girl. His friends heard the shouting and wondered what it was. This catches Deja's attention, who notices the group has stopped following her with her hands over her eyes and asks what she did. Clutching his pepper spray, he claims no one told him to put his dirty hands on her. And when the group arrives, the student insists the girl is crazy for spraying it straight into his eyes. One student warns her to drop it before he strikes her. She jumped and said he was the one who started it. That same student admits he hits girls, while she warns she'll use the spray again if they get too close from a distance. The protagonist asks what they are doing while staring at the crying girl, who is surprised to see the newcomer looking annoyed. The bully orders him to leave, while the hurt student struggles to open his eyes and watch what happens. The bully shouts that Kwanjan is here, and his coworker admits it was him who drew this crazy person in. The protagonist asks if they've been following him for a while, and they say no. He points to somewhere else, says he has to do something, and invites the bullies to come along. One of them jumps right in and says yes. Even though she's still frightened, the girl starts to wonder if he did this just to save her. After some time, they finally make their way into a narrow alley. The bullies spot the two kids from Bangun School nearby. This is Ijong Man, a first-year student from Bangun Technical School. And here is Cha Jin Woo from our class, who says he hasn't spotted a single girl from Gorong School in a long time. Young calls them nerds and kicks them out. One of the bullies asks if he knows Kim Yong-jun and tells him he has to do what he's told. Then the two students say they know him, while Deja watches quietly. The tech school student vows to find out this time, warning that if they are using Kim's name falsely, they will pay the price. Frustrated by his bad luck, the bully can't help but wonder why they had to meet like this. Suddenly, something grabs Cha Jin Woo's attention. He questions if the girl works there. The bully says she does not, and Daeon watches them with a suspicious look. After a bit, Jaeok asks why Kim is in the office since he was supposed to watch over the new guy, and Kim replies that he sent Yongjin Mo and the other students to handle it. Suspicious, Jaeok doubts Yong can handle it, but Kim insists he's strong enough, noting that even if he weren't, the second-year bullies would stop him, and since they fight on equal terms with third years, Yong knows he shouldn't mess with them. Meanwhile, a group of bullies traps the protagonist right in the alley. The girl, feeling nervous, asks if she can go home. The bully orders her to shut up and only stare. Curious, the newbie wonders why she has been following him since school and what he should do about it. The bully demands to know who he thinks he is before letting the girl go. He pulled off his jacket and wondered if the main character had any idea what was really going on. He asked if he didn't know he was there to get beaten, and he replied that he had no idea. Trying to figure out what's going on, the new student realizes they've already said Kim Yong-jun's name, and if he keeps sending people over, they'll all get beaten up. While smoking a cigarette, the bully steps closer until Daejeon warns him that blowing in his face will make him a dead man. Before blowing a cloud of smoke, the greenhorn warns him not to do it just to look cool. He clamps his hand over the bully's mouth and shoves him away. To everyone's shock, he swept the bully off his feet and got ready to strike. Lying on the ground, the bully suddenly realizes something is coming. Then Daejeon lands a solid punch right in the face, so hard that it makes him spit out his mouth. The girl stood there, completely stunned and unable to speak. The group of bullies stood frozen in shock as they realized just how strong he really was. After getting up, Daejeon tells the bully that he won't listen, but promises they'll be friends soon. One student warns that if they miss the newbie, Kim will take them, but his colleague argues they know nothing about it and they should just go ahead. And they all charge forward to strike at the same time. Near the protagonist, the three lock eyes and decide that one of them must go. He sneered and asked if he should charge first, lining himself up to hit everyone at once. He pretends to lunge at one kid but punches the other right in the face instead. As one bully curses and charges, Daejeon dodges the blow and instantly turns his focus to the other stunned student, landing a hard punch to his face that knocks him out cold right there. The other bully gets scared and asks if he can still fight, saying they should go together now. Before he moves, he kicks straight at the chest and presses his whole body against the bars. From far away, a bully sneers at the newcomer and winds up to punch him, but the newbie snaps back with a solid hit to the ribs that leaves the bully spitting in pain. He grabs his arm and slams him down, ready to drive his knee right into his face. And right then, the bully starts sweating cold sweat from sheer fear. Daejeon speaks calmly, saying that this time was close and that he almost killed him already. At the internet cafe, Kim ended up dying in his game despite the auto-combat feature, prompting Gio to warn him that playing on his phone there is a bad idea because auto-combat isn't perfect. Just then, his phone starts ringing. Kim asks why they took so long, but when he hears that all his friends were defeated, he jumps back in surprise and fear. One of the bullies freezes in fear, sensing that something dangerous is coming. He sprints into the darkness, driven by desperation as he runs. He turns to look behind him and sees something moving closer. A huge hand appears and he screams in total despair. Running faster and faster while tears stream down his face as the hand chases him, the bully sees a light at the end of the tunnel and feels relieved, knowing that the moment he escapes, he will finally be free. Before he can finish speaking, a powerful hand grabs him and pushes him toward the exit, where he leaps out, smirks, and declares his survival with a dangerous glow. The hero stands ready to strike the final blow, his face frozen in shock. The bully finally spots the new kid. As the fist swung down toward him, the bully jolted awake to find he was lying on the ground, staring up at his own hands. Dijon reaches out to see if he's actually awake. He watches as his injured friends kick the bully. He yells at him to get up and stand in line while calling everyone cowards, and another bully on the phone warns that the new guy just knocked out 4 students at once. Cha Jin-woo wonders if someone like that goes to the Golden Dragon School, but his friend shakes his head and says no, explaining that the person is actually a transfer student from another city. Kim felt scared but thanked him for the warning, while the main character asked the bully to name the boss. He wonders if Kim Yong-jun was the bully who mentioned his name, and realizes he's in big trouble if Kim finds out about his mistake. We told the newcomer he was wrong, yet his collarbone was being pressed hard. As the hero wonders if he's just a frightened clown, the bully admits Kim sent them both but yells from a distance that he needs to stay quiet. The girl watches the new guy, wondering if he's a tough guy, but when he asks why she's there, the bully just says she followed him because she likes him. She screams that she hates him, hurling cruel insults at his looks and crushing his pride with every word. He apologized and said she was following him in a suspicious way. The noise grabs Dijon's attention, but he's clueless about what to do next. The girl tells him he's watching too many movies and wrongly assumes she likes that kind of violence, so she walks away with a suspicious look. The new guy stands there at the alley exit, just staring at her. She spots a student from the technical school staring around, convinced that everyone here is a gangster. The two say she is stunning and unlike any of the girls at the technical school. Meanwhile, the bully swaps numbers with the protagonist, fills him with hatred, orders him to bring Kim Mong-jun to him, and the protagonist obeys the next day at school. Impatient Dijon keeps checking his watch, wondering where Kim is now that the 3rd class is long over. Yang Jinma the bully brags he hasn't seen Kim at school, but the newcomer calmly replies that even if Muhammad won't go to the mountain will come to him, and then he storms into classroom 6, leaving the shocked bully staring at his collarbone as he realizes the glasses wearing stranger is actually Dajuan. Suddenly, a girl bursts into the classroom, asking why the newcomer is hanging around there and why Yang Jinma isn't fighting back, while scolding him for looking foolish. Right then, she snatches his jacket and, seeing he's the new student, demands to know why he's doing this, only for him to retort that she's pulling him out of nowhere before she slaps him hard enough to knock his glasses right off his face. Then the girl asks him to speak politely and reminds him that he doesn't know who she is. Surprised, he admits he has no idea and asks what will happen if the glasses break. She ignores him, claiming he can't possibly know Baek Suyuk, the leader of the 3rd year of the Golden Dragon. Feeling totally out of it, the newbie shrugs and says he has no clue, while she's head over heels for him and calls him her appa, secretly wishing he'd take his glasses off to show off how handsome he really is. The hero then asks how that has anything to do with it. Watching one student walk up, Yang suddenly gets kicked in the stomach by another student. As the newcomer stands stunned, he seizes the bully by the hair and strikes him hard with his palm, ready to hit again, leaving the bully spitting in confusion while Dajon wonders what is going on. Yang screams Kim Yong-jun's name in agony as he fades away. Suddenly, the stranger recognizes Kim Yong-jun and asks if it's really him, to which Kim confirms it and shares that he heard Dajon was looking for him, only to reveal that he was searching for Dajon as well. Suddenly, every student froze in fear, and the newcomer realized the whole classroom was staring right at him. Kim recalls his mission chief laughing at him and telling him he could do whatever he wanted, so he says the chief has no reason to look for him now and asks what he wants. He starts talking about what he wants, then lunges to throw a punch that surprises Kim with its speed, but Kim blocks it just in time. Gio steps in between them, stopping the fight and asking the hero why he suddenly decided to start fighting. Confused, he pauses to ask who he is right now. He answers that he is Yujok from class 5, explaining that even though this problem belongs to another class, it can't be solved carelessly. He lunges to tackle Dijon but stops dead when he hears a loud snap. Feeling his arm locked and shaking, he knows he can't bring the newcomer down or even shift him a single inch. He laughs and teases Jaeok about his strong waist, wondering if he's really serious about taking him down. Yu pulls his arm away and shifts the topic, warning that no matter how wild the school gets, he needs to know what's going on. Kim hugs Yang, suggesting yesterday's mix-up might be the cause, but then he suddenly snaps, yanking the bully's hair and demanding an explanation as he sweats profusely until he gets punched in the face by the bully, leaving Dijon shocked by this sudden shift and watching Kim get kicked while apologizing for everything. Fuming with anger, he sneered, "Is your head so empty you can't just follow orders and keep quiet?" After knocking the bully down, the protagonist just stands there watching. The leader of Class 6 admits he messed up his job, looking back in confusion at why the newcomer is acting out without any proof, even though he isn't guilty and just feels terrible. The bell began to ring with a thoughtful sound. Knowing there is no point in fighting now, the protagonist decides to leave, while a now proud Kim praises Jess for handling it well, admits he was nervous, and warns that it would be wiser to avoid fighting the newcomer while holding a phone. Kim tells us that only one way to do this will work, and they'll figure it out later in Class 1. The teacher stands there, teaching the class. Dijon thought he had Kim in the corner, but his power slipped away right then, bringing back the moment Kim struck Yang Jinma while Jizyo stood up for his friend, proving that anyone who attacks someone without caring about school rankings becomes the villain, leaving only the bully as the real victim and setting the stage for an investigation into the bully chief. At that tough moment, his teacher reminded him that in war, having a good reason is absolutely essential. Focusing his thoughts on finding an excuse for what happens behind the school, he realizes he needs a reason to act, while the 5 students get beaten at the same time. Yang was the final one struck, getting hit twice instead of just once. Just like everyone else, Kim growls in annoyance at them, asking how they can't just hit one guy. Yang, the bully, sneers that Kim isn't confident enough to fight alone and mocks the transfer student for answering a call, only for Kim to snap at him and tell him to shut up. Lee-young is on the other end of the line, perched on top of someone who hasn't paid the requested money, and he says he needs to take a call to ask what happened to him yesterday. Kim says they must bring Jin-woo and the group together because he tried to fix things but couldn't. After leaving the newbie nearly dead, he finally finishes with his curiosity satisfied. The tough kid from the technical school challenges him about his strength and boasts that he has a huge crowd ready to beat him up. Jin-woo cuts in before he can speak, and Kim listens closely before asking who he means and pressing Yang to clarify if they are talking about the girl from yesterday. The bully looks around, confused that everyone is talking about her when she has nothing to do with the fight. Yang wonders why, but Jin-woo grins with a scary face, telling her she's exactly his type and that he's going to have a really good time hitting her. Kim tells her she's coming along, says his goodbyes, but Yang is confused about why she's needed right now. The leader asks if the bully heard Yang, who is now scared and wondering what to do while blaming herself for being targeted. Yang believes they must wait because the school rules say only the room's leader can claim it, and since that girl is from room 9, her tough leader Lee Sung-hun will definitely step in to protect his students. Kim shakes his head and tells Yang not to worry, since the girls don't pay protection money, just like when he told Lee Sung-hun he could stay in room 9. So Yang should forget this and focus on finding the 2 students he was looking for. In room 1, the bully kneels on the floor and apologizes, promising that this will never happen again. The blonde shares the rumor that the new kid took out 4 bullies, leaving Miho impressed and Ho Jong calling him a legend. Then the blonde guy declares he wants to be close friends with the transfer student, but Ho Jong points out they hardly talk to him and starts stepping on Dajon, the bully, while questioning whether Dajon is truly to blame. Even as the bully keeps apologizing and recalling how he got beaten, our hero decides the bully is more like a poor soul and orders him to apologize to the girl from yesterday, which leaves Yang embarrassed and agreeing to buy him a teakbaki as a peace offering. Surprised, the newbie hesitates, feels sorry for the bully, and then finally accepts the invitation to room 9, thanking him since the bully will pay. Jian asks if he'll buy her a TT as an apology. He says yes while cautiously insisting he means no harm and just wants to make things right. Dajuan agrees to come along, but Era jumps in amazed at the news and urges them to hurry, while Yang shuts her down by saying he didn't invite her friend because it would be too awkward and insists only the 2 of them will eat. Era starts begging because she knows this is her only shot to hang out with the new student. Yang tells Era they can both go since he'll pay for a double date, but he quickly regrets saying that when Jian accepts and calls it a terrible idea. Surprised, the bully promises to hang out with us right after class. Yang begins to doubt his choices, realizing he thought they were just going to eat dinner and can't believe he dragged this girl into the fight, leaving him wondering what he should do next. Then a boy with glasses snaps his out of a daydream about being friends with MSU Deja as the late afternoon sun begins to set, just as 2 students from the technical school step up and ask if they can help since this fight belongs to another school. Youngmin insists we must act now so Kim can hide safely behind us. The students tell Kim that if they crush him, he should just change schools or quit, though they secretly believe Kim Yong-jun will help them take Bongun High once they seize Gumryang High. This plan aims to boost their earnings since he's quitting the ride-sharing gig, but it requires transferring the student to a different part of the city at the same time. Dijon walks along with the bully and 2 girls from class 9, while John feels awkward seeing such a strange group together. Era is so focused on eating with the newcomer that she feels everything is moving too fast. Curious, the protagonist asks why they are heading to a place where everything is shut down. He asks if there is tea left in a place like this, and the bully confirms it while looking away in shy love, and Era notes that the best restaurants are always in spots like this, sometimes so hidden they don't even have signs. The bully boasts she knows everything, but the girl replies that while she knows all the good restaurants, she didn't realize one existed here, and John admits he didn't know either. Just then, the new kid nervously asks the bully the restaurant's name, and the bully feels a sharp spike of suspicion. He wonders why he feels so nervous and suspects he's secretly planning something. Looking back, he notices a few students staring around, lost in thought about what's going on. He suddenly remembers that these people are the students from the technical school. So angry, he shouts for young Jinmo. He drops to his knees and begins to say sorry. Terrified, he told Deja that he had no choice, and that she could kill him once this was all over. Jian, terrified at what she's seeing, watches as Era, confused and angry, yells insults at her friend, who is now kneeling and begging in shock that he never meant to pull her into this mess. Jian admits that dragging Era into this mess was a mistake. Then the wild guy from tech school calls the girl a cat and says she looks stunning when she's mad, while another bully wonders why Yang isn't scared of Kim kneeling and marching right up to them. The fresh face dials Yang while his eyes burn with deadly anger. He tells the bully he'll kill him later, which leaves the bully terrified. A student from the technical school leaned over and whispered, "Is that the guy who beat 4 opponents all at once?" His colleague claims that the 4 who lost are saying he looks very weak. Jinwoo warns the newcomer that he's sinking their school, but insists they still can't relax since he and Jung have already seen just how strong he really is. Then one student crosses his arms, doubting if he really is as strong as everyone claims. Minyoung Guan from the technical school steps forward and demands we strike. First, he declares his intent to test just how tough a Yumyang high boss really is. This bully claims he's one of the top 10 freshmen at Bangun Technical School. As he talks, Deja keeps wondering where his eyes are fixed. Feeling annoyed, the bully snaps, "You poor thing." He turns his gaze toward the newcomer. He isn't sure if he's seeing his own reflection, but if he plans to fight, he'd better show up soon. The bully acts weird, claiming he has a secret power where his gaze can burn normal people like the student, adding that no one has ever survived looking into his eyes, but his colleague laughs and says if that were true, he'd already be dead, so it's just bluffing, yet he won't say no to his scary words. He recalls how he struggled against Min before because you have to look into your enemy's eyes to dodge, making Min's attacks nearly impossible to avoid, and while he defeated Min using his grappling, he worries about what the new guy will do. Even though the bully thinks it will be tough, Dijon is already locking an arm around someone. Scared, he asks what happened, noting that the chokehold was so perfect he can't tell if his colleague is even awake, and since Min's eyes never change, he gets annoyed by the confusion and tells the bully to let go and leave. But the old man kept goading Min into turning bright red, while the hero stayed completely calm, which made young men very worried. All the bullies froze in shock and crashed to the ground. Daeon wonders if the bully meant to kill everyone, including the innocent ones he dragged into this mess, and asks if he would let his friend go so easily just because he was asked. Because of this, he fights with a desperate need to kill one of the students, claiming he still doesn't get what's going on and that taking one down means nothing since 9 others are still alive, while another student questions if he really thinks he'll be the last one standing. The protagonist goes to Era, asks her to hold his backpack and stay back because things are about to get dangerous and embarrassing, but his friend insists this isn't a romance show and challenges the bullies to come at him. The students are plotting to swarm the newcomer with 5 of them to start, and if he drops, they'll all stomp on him. Then they spring into action to surround Dijon, and seeing 5 people watching, he chooses a target near the wall and dives at him, slamming him against the brick with every ounce of strength he has before punching him to end it, only for a bully to curse and charge in next, scooping up dirt from a pot to throw. He tosses the object straight at the bully to throw him off balance while a blonde girl rushes in to kick, only for the transfer student to catch her foot, slam her down, dodge her follow-up punch, and land a hard right hook to the bully's chin followed by a swift kick to the blonde's face. Scared, Yang admits he knew the protagonist was strong but not this strong, and while he suggests the hero might beat Kim Ong-jun and Yuji and even lead the first year, he quickly corrects himself to say that besides those feats, the protagonist will definitely succeed. The strange kid tells his friends it's time to charge, and they all rush in while the hero moves so fast he dodges a punch, hits back with a left to the ribs and finishes with a right to the face. The other charges in with everything, taking a hard kick to the stomach before even getting close and spitting from the pain, then gets hit again directly on the neck. He crashes down to the ground right after that. Only the 2 main bullies are left standing there, drenched in sweat. He admits that facing 7 foes at once is too hard, noting that only 2 remain frightened. While Jinwoo laughs, saying he is no longer human as he watches the battle unfold. Youngmin explains that Daeon has handled this before, using his quick wit to make two charging bullies line up so they could only attack one at a time instead of trapping him. Knowing the newcomer could force this into a deadly duel, the protagonist admits he's strong right now while more worried people keep arriving, and he simply watches them come. Youngmin says he's going to need a motorcycle soon. Just as the others were getting ready with a bat, a new bully showed up, surprised but excited to help them smash people, because that's exactly what he wanted to do. Youngmin sees the newcomer's power but warns that death is today's fate, leaving him confused, while Daejeon scratches his head and wonders if he can face this alone. Someone walked in to ask if he was truly by himself. Everyone cranes their necks to see who it is, and when they spot MSU, the protagonist's friend, he immediately asks why he's here. More people pile up behind him, startling the newcomer alongside MSU, as the blonde Ho Jang and Miho rush over to help, with Miho admitting he came to aid the class president despite being annoyed about stepping into the role. Surprised, the newcomer asks how they knew he was there. Mu blamed Yang, who immediately told the kid to hush. Young gets annoyed when he realizes he's been played. Yang claims he was just talking to himself when he walked past the bully, noting that his ears work very well. Furious, he curses the man, blaming him for everything and vowing to kill John before Kim Yong-jun even gets a chance. Nervous Yang admits he can't stand Kim, because the guy makes him do all kinds of scared things like that without any fear. He declares he won't just take things lying down and is done being Kim's subordinate. He calls the technical school students idiots. Miho then asks if he's on their side, noting that this is good because it means one more ally for them. But on the other side, there are about 7 or 8 people and we're wondering who their leader is. It's likely one of those two, and Daejeon can take them on while the rest of the group helps deal with the others. Mu says he isn't going to fight and will just stand there and watch. Youngmin realizes that Ho Jong is staring at Miho, who used to be a leader. They all assume he's just a hired mercenary until they finally look at the protagonist. He thanks Miho for stepping up to help, but warns that they can't rely on them since each person would have to take down 1 or 2 students, and one even has a weapon, so Miho just drops his bag and says not to worry because he's ready to fight dirty, telling them all to get ready. He slips his phone into his pocket. Ho Jong opens a folder, and Miho pulls something out of his bag. While the blonde grabs brass knuckles and Ho Jong holds a key, Miho notes they are quite different from their school selves, leaving everyone surprised. Daeon can't stop wondering if they're actually carrying something useful, since their backpacks are filled with nothing but weapons. One of the bullies claims the redhead is the legendary master of all weapons, and his friend wonders if he means a game. Then the blonde girl mentions Miho, and the boy grabs a baseball bat, asking if he knows how to use it, only for the bully to reply that all you need to do is hit someone in the head. Feeling sure he'll win, he steps up to the bully and promises to teach him a lesson. Frustrated, the bully sneered that he would no longer be held responsible for blowing his head off. Miho tells him to try, so he charges forward, shouting that he'll kill him right now. Miho realizes he is right-handed, so when a beginner lifts their bat, he counters by swinging diagonally to knock chalk dust into their face, then delivers a solid punch to the stomach that leaves the bully stunned, followed by a kick to the groin that makes him kneel, a final kick to the face that silences the shocked students, proving just how dirty Miho can fight. He grabs one of the bats and claims he's an expert with them. Holding his baton and the bully's bat, he says, "Now it's time for the rest of the extras focused on the fight." And the nervous nerd asks if it's a double-edged sword. One student shouts that he's crazy for swinging weapons and kicking people in the groin, acting with disgusting enthusiasm. Miho promises to head to the student if they don't answer soon. The bully lunges at him, aiming to knock out his face or hit his crotch. But Miho slips out of the punch and whacks the other guy's thigh, just as the nerd suddenly charges forward. Ho Jong punches himself in the face, which irritates the nerd so much that he gets a murderous look on his face because his moment was interrupted. Ho Jong pulls out his key, and one of the students, seeing everything, shouts that they're crazy and they need to grab whatever is on the ground. One grabs a bottle and asks if it's too dangerous, but his friend snaps back that there's no time to worry about that now. In a shocking burst of speed, the blonde student lunges and punches one of the other kids, but as the second student kicks back, Yang suddenly appears to deliver a powerful kick straight into the bully's stomach. That strange guy acts like everything is falling apart, but he just stands there acting like it's all his fault. Daejeon scoffs at the past scores and taunts the fighters, claiming they only talk big before challenging them to a real match with total confidence. Both get ready for the battle, and Youngmin declares that no matter how many wins he has, he will never lose a one-on-one match because he will always go first. If that plan fails, his friend must step in to take the blows, staying close to the action to rush forward and tackle the bully, who is left completely bewildered by the sudden grab. Daejeon drives his head into the strike just as his teammate rushes to help, only for the rookie to narrowly dodge a kick. But in that split second, Youngmin grabs him from behind, leaving the protagonist shocked and filled with hate as the bully laughs that it's finally over. He claims he'll kill him, yet he keeps walking even while being held down. The bully grabs one of his arms, lifting him tight in the air and saying he can't escape. He promises it's over right now as he slams the back suplex into place. This move involves grabbing your enemy and hurling them backward, where the way they crash onto the ground could be fatal. The bully's trick is almost working, but the hero clings to the wall, fighting hard not to fall while the bully freezes in shock, finally understanding why the rookie had rushed toward it. They both end up hitting the ground. Then he grabs the bully's arm, not letting him escape his own move, leaving him on top of his body to then turn to the other side, throwing him back onto the ground, turning him again to